Sublime in a weird way, even though it's easier to save stuff, it's made me think a lot more about what I'm saving and why. Yeah, hi, I'm Jonathan Quaade. Thanks for having me. I'm a Danish-Ugandan designer who lives in London. I'm currently in charge of all design at a startup called Workflow, which is helping creatives to get their work reviewed online in a sort of beautiful, minimalistic space. Very few products describe an emotional state. It's very like feature-based. And I just sort of resonated with this line, oh, I'm gonna save it for later and I'm gonna find it.
I'll remember this idea later is the biggest lie ever.
It's
ever.
that one. It's that one. I screenshotted it like 8 times probably, almost as a way of clapping. Like I'm just like, I need to get this so many times. I'd sort of been on a journey of like saving a lot of things in Notion. You know, I would have like tables and I had this place where I was saving cool ideas. With Notion, I had particularly bad feelings about it because I was saving in a way where I wouldn't find it. It didn't really connect to anything. It was very hard to also just move things somewhere else because you've created a system that doesn't really work the way your mind works. I think before I was saving a sort of like impulsive, almost like a FOMO kind of sensation. Like I don't want to lose it in case of something hypothetical. Right?
Yes.
And I think that's what really resonated with Sublime. I was like, okay, can we think about how to engage with the things that make us go, whoa, in a different way, in a deeper way? It all just feels very easy and without pressure. And in that way, it's a lot more fun. Before, I felt like I had to do something with it. Again, I don't really know why it is. It might just be like subtle differences make it just feel different in a way.
Yeah.
Like if I go in on, let's just do this beautiful voice and phrase this one. If I go in here, since there is no other information on the page, I can only really engage with the ideas in front of me.
Yes.
And because they are all different lengths and sizes, there's no real formatting or anything like that. I can only just take the words for the face value that they are, on the page necessarily. And I have to form the connection between all those things. And it means that when I visit a collection, it's a very focused experience. But because it's around an idea, it's quite easy. Whereas in other places, it's like around a category, like technology or something, or commerce or whatever. My brain doesn't work like that. No one's brain works like that. It just feels like Sublime is like my thinking pad. It's not part of a process. It's not part of like a system. This feels nice to save in here, and I don't worry about being able to find it again because you've got embeddings, capability, search through large language models. I just don't worry about it. I'll find it. I even love it. I wouldn't do this anywhere else. I even have it. An instruction to myself, split this up because I felt that there was too many things in there. Yeah, this was for a talk that I did at Central St. Martin's, which is my old university, for a group of students. It was on the topic of how to ask questions that no one dares asking to open the doors you want in life. So this was months before I actually got the title that I just told you about. This is the first time I used Sublime in a way where I was like, okay, I've got this like bucket, this question. I would need to do a talk around this theme of embracing naivety, which is what I felt was the most interesting to talk about. But it needed a structure. And so I just used Sublime to collect anything that I felt was relevant to that concept. And it's kind of like a massive list of like all kinds of weird things. Like someone said something interesting in a design talk. This is actually like an actual activity that was done by IBM for how to actually organize workshops. And it kind of just became like a place where I, for the 3 months before the talk, I could just dump everything in here. I know I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to create a bucket for it. The title might change, but broadly speaking, like stuff is just going to go in here. And then over time, I even have some notes here. Like, for example, this was a thing that I wrote myself. I was like, how did you ever talk about the weather when you were a kid? And that became actually a huge hook in the talk. When you're young, you want to be a Pokemon trainer, right? Like, so real. I want to be an actual Pokemon trainer. And then you get older and you talk about the weather all the time. And it's like, what? That's so lame. It's so boring. It's so boring. It's so boring.
That's
and it's
so funny.
Especially in the UK, everyone talks about the weather all the time. But this became like a thing that I could, capture. I could remember it, and it had like a place. I knew I would be able to find it. And then it also meant that when I got further into like figuring out what are the references that I want, or maybe missing a quote or some idea, then I could use the ideas related to this collection, you know? I could click on like this thing and find someone talking about maybe the weather in some way. I'm not really sure if I did, but that's when the sort of related thing became really, really relevant.
Yeah.
And so in that way, this was like those are the biggest hook for me to sort of like really keep using Sublime. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
It looks like you use the notes a lot.
It sort of depends on the situation. I think more recently I've been using it a lot to sort of remind myself if I don't have time to figure out where it goes, or I don't really know where it goes, like what was the reason I saved it. And again, that's also why Sublime is quite casual. I don't have a tag. I just have to write down the feeling, and I'm basing all my savings on like how it felt or what idea I'm resonating with when I encountered it. And I think that can also be the problem with like tagging stuff. Like I put it in technology, but why? Like what was it about it? It's sometimes hard to remember.
The act of tagging sort of like by definition robs it of its soul. You know, like that's how you have to categorize it.
Yes. There's an amazing quote by E. McGilchrist where he says, "Cannot make the implicit explicit without corrupting it."
Yes.
And I think that's so true. Like it was just a nice quote. That was it, you know? But it's tied to this container, and then therefore it has some meaning, but it doesn't really have much meaning beyond that. So it still has potential to be related to lots of different things or change in how I think about it. But if I had tagged it as great quote, then it becomes a great quote that must be a great quote because I tagged it as a great quote.
Yeah.
If I remove the great quote tag, it's just the implicitness is already lost, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's almost like these things aren't yet solid, like they're more liquid or something, and then and they can stay liquid in here.
I have to save that. I have to save that. Like this, I think there's just so much in this, like
yes.
The society just believes that like left brain is better, you know, like logic, reason, and it's very it feels nice in here, man. It just feels nice in here. That's it. It just feels nice in here.
The first question is, what's something recently that has moved you?
I went to this talk yesterday by a studio called OKRM, and I got the book.
Whoa.
And the title was Against from Within. And the talk itself was like a long table where the 6 speakers sat facing each other, but we also sat around the table in the whole room. And we were allowed to interject, ask questions, like cut the speakers off, you know, who are you know, amazing, very intelligent people. And it was just 2 hours and 30 minutes of like esoteric kind of ideas around the system that we're within has certain rules, but like how can you go inside it and find your own space, right? Like specifically around, for example, like capitalism has certain structures that you have to adhere to. But like, how can you go into it and be against from within? And it was a beautiful conversation that didn't really have a conclusion.
Wow.
And it was really nice to not have any kind of explicit outcome, you know?
I know. Yeah. Right. That sort of like wrap up thing of like, okay, and here's the takeaway, you know?
Exactly. Oh, no one mentioned AI. 2 hours, 30 minutes. No one mentioned AI. It wasn't mentioned one time. Is that crazy?
Wow.
It was the best.
That's special. That last part is deeply special.
It's deeply special.
Do you have a healthy relationship with the internet?
Hilarious. I knew this question was coming as well. I'm trying. I think that's the best thing to say. I'm trying. I'm trying really hard. I try really hard to build in a lot of inconvenience, make most things very hard for me to reach that I compulsively reach for, try to organize my spaces and what I do to encourage deeper, simpler thoughts. But I probably spend too much time on the internet. I say that only because I think sometimes I spend time on there and I don't feel like I got much out of it, you know? But then other times you discover incredible things. So I think it's all just a struggle, really. Like I'm sure TVs were when they came out, you know, like totally. It's just always a
good and the bad.
Yeah, good and the bad. But I think also, I'm trying.
That's a good answer. Last question. So we always struggle to explain Sublime to new people because it's a lot of different things. Could you help us? How would you describe Sublime to somebody?
When people ask me like, why do you use Sublime and not Pinterest or Arena or something else, I would just say that it feels much lower pressure. I think that's how I think of it. It's for saving the things that make you go, whoa. I really like that. Like, that's what really resonated with me. I think the best description on Sublime is to just, like, for me, it's just a sync pad for my ideas. That's what it is. Like, as you can see, there's nothing else in there because it's presented with the idea at the center, right? That becomes the focus. I think though, like, had I not engaged with Sorry and like everything you guys were posting and how you guys were recommending to use it in whatever way you wanted to and be used with it, I don't know if I would have landed in the same way. I don't know. I think Sublime is a place for collecting your ideas and not have too much pressure around them.